Shopper. We're excited to have you listening in. My name is Brittany and I will be your moderator. We have two great speakers joining us today. The first is Jordan Cohen, the CMO of Fluent, and Eric Charles, the Senior Director of Product Marketing for Cake. Before we get started, I wanted to go over a few housekeeping items. First, don't worry if you are joining late or have to leave early. The webinar is being recorded, and we will send you the slides later today. Second, if you have a question, please make sure you type it in the chat box on the GoToWebinar panel, and we'll get to all the questions towards the end of the webinar. And with that, let me introduce you back to Eric, and then he'll give you a brief background on himself, and then we'll get started.
Thank you very much, Brittany. Again, my name is Eric Charles. I'm Senior Director of Marketing here at Cake. Spent about the last 20 years in the technology industry working in some different, I like to just call them toys, different ways to make business run a little smoother, a little more efficiently. In the background, I'm kind of a data geek. I'm one of these people that enjoys going into Excel to try and pull as much information together as possible and see what can happen. I was very intrigued by Cake when they started talking to me about a year ago, and joined the company in January of this year so that I could really start playing around with the engine that Cake has for tracking every single touch that goes on in any sort of a buying decision. The modern web world has changed that. So that's a little bit of my background. I've got a bachelor's from Stanford and MBA from UC Irvine's Paul Mirage School of Business. Been working in startups and technology for years and just trying to keep the sales fed with the best possible leads. With that, I'll hand it over to Jordan for the first half of today's webinar.
Hey, thanks so much, Eric. So Jordan Cohen, CMO of Fluent. I've been with the company for about a year. I've been in the direct marketing and email marketing space for a little over a decade. And like Eric, I'm just fascinated by interesting, innovative companies that are solving major problems. Fluent in particular specializes in solving one of marketers' most fundamental challenges, which is constantly, continuously filling the top of the funnel with engaged new customers and prospective customers. So really, we're very focused on the acquisition side of the fence, and are very proud and pleased to be a partner of Cake Marketing. So with that, we'll kick things off. First, we're just going to go through the brief overview of the retail landscape. Very specifically, actually, we're going to go into the findings of a recent nationwide survey that Fluent conducted pertaining to CPG and shopper marketing. And while it's focused on that area, I think that the results will be applicable across many verticals and to many different marketers. Then we're going to go into a bunch of different tips for customer acquisition and very specifically email marketing acquisition. Then I want to talk about something that we here at Fluent call the Omnichannel Opportunity. I'll dig a bit deeper into that when we get to those slides, and I'm going to hand it over to Eric to talk about CLV and analytics, and then we'll wrap things up with a Q&A. And feel free to ask questions in the GoToWebinar panel as well, and we'll try to get to them at the end. So first, shoppers today are more price conscious than ever. When we conducted our survey asking what's most important when you go shopping for groceries, why would you buy a new food product or brand, value and savings really trumped all the other options by a healthy margin. Same when it comes to switching to a new brand. So American consumers as price conscious as ever. Interestingly, they're also taking advantage of offers. We're doing a split here of households who have children or don't. Predictably, households who do have children are even more likely to take advantage of things like coupons. Households with children said that a little over 20% of them are redeeming coupons at least 4 times a month. Pretty intense. The majority are redeeming coupons at least once. Only 1 in 5 Americans say that they never use coupons at all. So if you offer some kind of value, if you offer some kind of discount, the public is taking advantage of them. And they're doing so across all channels. So we wanted to find out, being a digital marketing company that specializes in email acquisition, are people taking advantage of offers through email? Are they signing up for mobile alerts? And we found that a large number are, and we also saw a correlation between affluence, actually. So the more money that a household has, the more likely they are to take advantage of channels and opportunities to save money and to redeem coupons more often. So and that's what you're looking at over here. The blue columns or the blue bars are folks who have said, yes, I have signed up for email. Yes, I have signed up for mobile. As you can see here, clearly mobile has email is a bit of a lead over a newer channel like mobile, but still very, very healthy adoption, with a quarter of households making 80,000 or more saying that they've signed up for mobile alerts from a grocery store, and nearly half signing up for email alerts. And then, importantly, digital shoppers, not only are taking advantage of offers, but they're also what we call most marketers MVCs, or their most valuable customers. So folks who signed up for email were nearly twice as likely as non-email subscribers to redeem coupons 4 times or more per month. Very similar numbers when it comes to mobile alerts. So now that we know that folks who are signed up for digital channels are more affluent, are more active customers, take advantage of offers more frequently, shop more often, how do we get these folks into your funnel? How do we get them signed up for your email lists, for your mobile alerts, etc.? So just a handful of tips. Tip number 1 is make signing up a primary call to action. Here's an example from American Eagle, just using a light box, just highly effective tactic. I hear from tons of retailers that just doing something as simple as this and just making email that primary call to action as soon as you hit the site has helped double, triple, even quadruple the volume of organic email signups. Here's another example from Overstock.com, where they're doing the same thing, but they're making it extra enticing, offering that discount in exchange for signing up for the email newsletter. Chances are, if somebody hit the site they're interested in purchasing, why not get that 10% off if all you got to do is just provide your email address? And here's an example just showing how important it is also to make sure that something like this is just as easy on mobile devices as it is on the web. Here's the example from Overstock, fully responsive designed website, and very easy to input your email address on their mobile site, just as easy as it would be on the desktop version. And I'll just add there, in terms of the importance of mobile versus desktop, our most recent research indicates that 60% of all online app interactions are now taking place on mobile devices. So most of your online interactions are taking place on smartphones and tablets these days as opposed to desktop. So critical to have that responsive design experience, not just for shopping, but even for something like your acquisition efforts. So our second tip, everybody loves a sweepstakes. So here's an example from PC Richards. They're doing that same type of light box type of thing, but it's not just, hey, to get 10% off right away, or just sign up for the email list. They're actually entering you into a contest. The important thing here is that it's not like an arbitrary contest. It's not, hey, enter to win $1,000 or enter to win a trip to Tahiti. They're very specifically offering $100 PC Richard & Son gift card, and that's what you're not guaranteed to get it if you sign up, but you're being entered to win to receive this. And doing so ensures that the consumers who will sign up for the list as a result of this sweepstakes are highly engaged. They're not opting in just to win that prize. They're opting in to win a prize that would actually be very aligned with the products that the brand is selling. So, I mean, naturally, a gift card to that very store makes a lot of sense. But something else that could work easily here would be, hey, enter to win a free flat screen TV, some kind of other electronic item that would be on sale at PC Richards. So the third tip is validating all new signups. This should be done in real time. It's a critical component of any acquisition program. whether you're on your own website, whether working with a third-party ad network like Fluent, people make mistakes. Here's just an example. Mary at Yahoo unfortunately entered her email address as Mary at Yahoo. No need for that. You don't need that to be on your list and screw up your deliverability. At the same time, you want to be able to follow up with somebody who you fought so hard to join your list. We work with a number of great validation partners, companies like Bright Verify, Webula, Experian Data Quality, great firms out there that we use in our own process and should definitely be applied to your own website to make sure that you're correcting malformed email addresses and are also making sure that you're removing any possible bad addresses that could get you junk foldered. Just a quick slide about the reasons for why data could be invalid. A large percentage here is human error. Of course, here we're talking about when people just put in the wrong email address for themselves. It could also be POS when you're collecting at the register. Somebody just entering the wrong information. Just bad internal processes. No good strategy. Lack of the right technology to make sure that your data is clean. But very important, again, if you're investing so much in growing your top of the funnel, which you should be, you want to make sure that you're taking full advantage when people actually do raise their hands and say that they want to join your email list, your loyalty program, sign up for mobile alerts, etc. Next tip is collecting the right data for personalization, but not too much in one bite. Here's a slide I borrowed from our friends at ExactTarget, now Salesforce Marketing Cloud. But you want to make sure that you're collecting the type of information that you need to effectively communicate from the get-go. This is just data showing how many people or what percentage of marketers collect what types of fields, first name, last name, email confirmation, which is something that you don't necessarily need if you have a really good data validation partner in place, and you could have consumers jump through fewer hoops. But that said, we do say, collect the right data that you need for personalization. So if you want to ask a custom question, you can. I'm about to show an example of that. But there is, a case for keeping it as short as possible. This is just a case study. It's anonymized here, but there was a marketer that we worked with that had, it's kind of amazing, a whopping 11 fields. By reducing it to 4, they're able to increase their conversion by over 100%. So sometimes it makes sense to collect fewer fields and then try to learn more about the customer later through on-site behavior, purchase activity, or just progressive profiling and asking more questions as they come and hit your site. But here's an example. Yeah, I mean, sometimes you do want to make sure that you are getting what you need if you're able to communicate more effectively up front. Here's an example from cheapflights.com, a client of Fluent's. This is one of their ads that they run with us, actually. In this case, they're asking for your email and then pretty granular preference information. What type of vacations are you interested in? Beaches, cities, cruises, luxury travel, business travel, adventure, et cetera, et cetera. But they're not asking for your first name, not asking for your last name, not asking for your zip code. They're getting what they need to communicate as effectively as possible through the channel, which initially is just an email address and your purchase preference or your lifestyle preferences. Just another example, just to beat a dead horse here, but here's the Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf, another sign-up ad. For them, they do need your name. They're gonna personalize. They need your zip code because most of your Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf transactions are going to occur in a store. You're not going to order that hot cup of coffee to your apartment. And they're also asking, importantly over here, for your birthday, of course. And this is important, and the consumer understands. So you're asking for my birthday, not my year of birth, but month and day, and you're probably going to send me some kind of great offer, some kind of discount on my birthday. Why not give that over? And for a company like this, they know that up front, this very first touch point with the consumer is the optimal time to ask for this piece of information. The chances of getting it later are going to be slim to none. And of course, just something like a birthday, having that data and using it for promotions could be incredibly valuable. A study that was done by Experian showed that a birthday, just a birthday promotion could get you almost 500% greater transaction rates than a typical run-of-the-mill email, higher RPE, much higher click-through rates, etc. So just having that one little piece of data that you collected up front could yield big results. And I think this is my last tip before we go into the concept of OmniChoir. But this is leveraging innovation, third-party customer acquisition technology. A little bit self-serving, but just bear with me for this one section. But of course, all the tips that we showed were really, for the most part, leveraging different best practices on your website. But when you really want to scale acquisition, you're going to have to start reaching outside of the walls of your own website and advertise on third-party sites. The key here is to do it in a way that's effective, that's highly targeted, that's highly relevant, and make sure that you get the right consumer for your product or service. So here's an example of a Fluent ad network flow. A consumer visits a promotional type of site. Here's one called samplesandsavings.com. They probably found this because they Googled, I want samples, I want discounts, I want coupons. They register with the site. They give us a little bit of information. At this point, we try to figure out, hey, are you already on file? Have we, as an ad network, seen you before? And at that point, we might know something about you already, household income, gender, presence of children, a host of other attributes that we might have received in the past. At this point, we're starting to pre-qualify a consumer for an advertiser. At the same time, it could be a first-time visitor who we've never seen before at all. We're just starting to build that profile. And then here's where the special sauce kicks in. We don't stop there. Now we start to literally ask people about their preferences. We'll ask them to take a short survey in order to personalize the savings and samples that are available to them. Could be as pointed as, which brand do you prefer to buy your groceries? And then we're asking more about purchase behavior, individual behavior when it comes to what drives you to buy. Is it health? Is it savings? Based on these answers and what we already know about the consumer, we might say, okay, this is a health-conscious consumer who would be a good fit to sign up for Kashi and to receive the newsletter for them, or we could even do postal. We could do whatever types of information the brand needs. If that same consumer tells us that they're a Kroger shopper and they are interested in savings, that might be a good opportunity to promote the Lysol product. And hey, maybe Lysol saying we don't want email acquisition, we really want consumers to download our mobile app, and we've identified that you've taken this survey on a iPhone, so why don't we just make the call to action, download the app. Really as simple as that. But at Fluent, what's really, I think, separates us is we're using not just first-party data, but also explicit intent preferences provided to us by consumers themselves. It eliminates a lot of the guesswork, and consumers are honest, and they answer questions with the goal of reaping the rewards of getting discounts, getting savings. And as we showed in our survey data, more and more are signing up for email, signing up for mobile alerts, and taking advantage of them to shop with marketers across multiple channels. So last thing I want to talk about is what we're calling the OmniChoir opportunity. And it really is about email, and email being not just email like it was 2 years ago, where it was about sending email to people on your email list, but email is a replacement for the cookie, and email being the centerpiece of communications across all channels as the new unique identifier that's being used to precisely target individuals, not just on your own email list, but across display, across social, across mobile. And this has largely been because support for cookies is very weak or non-existent and mobile devices, which, as I mentioned earlier, now account for 60% plus of all online interactions. So we're helping consumer marketers, of course, acquire millions of opt-ins and largely email address tied to also full PII and explicit marketing consent. And this enables us to build robust profiles as well through real-time surveying, finding out things like age, household income, presence of children, behavioral drivers, brand preferences, monthly spend, and then ultimately getting not just Jane@gmail.com, but Jane, who's 39 with this such and such household income, prefers shopping at Target, lives in White Plains, health is a big driver of her behavior. And now using email as that core identifier, we're able to, of course, send Jane that Kashi email, but also start to target her on Facebook and also target her lookalikes. We also have a display, working with various ad networks. If we're collecting additional information like postal, we could send her a good old-fashioned coupon in the mail. I mean, lastly, if we also get permission for SMS, now we could also send Jane that text message and that text alert, and even use GPS to locate her when she's near a store. So really, email as a centerpiece and just customer acquisition, we now have the ability to target users, gain deeper insights than we ever had before into them, what makes them tick, and then target them across literally every channel in a direct and addressable manner. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Eric.
Thank you very much, Jordan. It's funny, the sequence when Jordan and I were working out today's presentation, talking about how we would come into this. And I said, you're going to nail all of the things of how to make sure someone becomes a customer. Then almost in reverse order, I'm going to go through what did it cost you to get them in the first place. A lot of this sinks back to the challenge I've had through most of my career, which was going into those meetings and being asked by our CFO, okay, you spent a lot of money in marketing, Eric. Which was the most worthwhile penny that you spent? And I'd sit there and spend an entire meeting trying to explain how it wasn't one touch, it was multiple touches, and that their insistence on using lead source as a reporting metric was driving me completely insane. And Lori Sullivan captured it when she's 82% of marketers can't measure cross-channel. Now let's take that and think about a retail executive. What are they faced with? They are expected to grow top-line revenue. Not only top-line revenue from new customers, but actually customer lifetime value. I mean, if we spend all this money to bring in a customer, we want to keep reaching out to them. And that's a lot of what Jordan was showing us. Is like, hey, they're in here. Here's this birthday email. Here's other types of things to get their attention so you can keep making money off of that person. That's a great way of ensuring that your investment in customer acquisition works. But let's face it, we're all getting hit with tighter budgets, constant scrutiny. Rounding errors are not allowed. Modern computing, by modern I mean my entire life, but lets us go down to the smallest data point, the smallest decimal point. And so the data-driven retailers are more effective. They're 33% more likely to tailor an interaction to the shopper's needs, but that tailoring costs money. I mean, let's face it, it's cheaper and easier to have one person on your team and you send the same email out every week. As soon as you start doing tailored emails, you need people who are starting to think about it. And this is some of the challenges. So now all of a sudden retailers are sitting here, and each time someone comes up with something, we get all these different technology stacks operating. Each one sounds fantastic. And each time you acquire a new stack, you probably have to hire another person, another nice marketing specialist to work for you, who will handle that particular thing. I'm sure if I was in a live room, I'd say, how many of you have one person whose entire job is to maintain your social media presence? I do. I mean, they're sitting there on Twitter and Fluitive, using Hootsuite actually to manage a lot, updating LinkedIn, all of that, and that can be a full-time job, okay? And then you keep going down each one of these stacks, and then you start pulling together, say, a monthly report, and, oh, here's my Twitter slide, here's my LinkedIn slide, here's my Pinterest slide, if I'm using Pinterest for pushing, all of that, instead of saying what's the gestalt, what is the collection of everything? Because let's face it, if you're not measuring a customer's journey across each of those touch points, you don't get that full holistic view of everybody. And then you start missing up on the questions, the quotes, and the data silos. You need to be able to bring those data silos together. What we've hit now in modern marketing is a new world where it's the creatives versus the quants. For much of my life, a marketing team, the top marketers were brand experts, color experts, people that could glance at an image and in seconds know whether or not it would work. And then we started being able to get better data. If you think about it, it used to be like, what was our main outlet? It was either coupons clipped out of a newspaper or a magazine. Maybe you were smart enough to have a custom 800 number. And then for television, you're dependent upon Nielsen and maybe some follow-up surveys to say, do you remember this particular ad? So the creatives were ruling it all. Then, as Nielsen went to being able to pull, say, set-top box data out, and as more and more advertising hit the web, and you could start looking at, say, website spikes during a Super Bowl ad to be able to measure how effective your Super Bowl advertising was, the quants started taking over. So we went from a messy collection of colors and turned it actually into a numerical calculation. This is shifting our world. We can't lose track of the creative, but the quants are being very important because, in addition to that 82% of folks not being able to measure the customer journey, we're still spending almost $140 billion just on digital advertising that you should be able to answer the question how well it works. And then what happens is, even if you talk about people that walk into a retail store, I'm not even talking e-tailing, I'm talking actual honest-to-goodness retailing, the digital interaction is responsible for about 36% of the dollars spent in the stores. This is $1.1 trillion. And I'm just as guilty of that. I mean, I see a random little ad even on my phone as I'm walking around one of the local malls. I live in Southern California, so I'm over at Fashion Island in Newport Beach on a regular basis, I'm ashamed to admit. And that advertising suddenly makes me think I need to stop into this particular store, see if they have whatever that is, and then realize it'll look terrible on me. But the store doesn't necessarily know how to tie that back. But if I walk into the store and I suddenly give them my email address so I can activate the coupon, oh, hey, look, this store is now starting to tie that digital interaction back to what I did online and what I did in the store. Even better, if you go all the way to iBeacons, then you can even see that I came in, I checked that, and also whichever departments I spent time on. This is what we mean by, you've got to track that journey. The cool thing is the technology is letting us do this. So we can actually track people while they're still just anonymously surfing. And then once they identify themselves in our system, they give up that email address, to sign up for something. You put that white on a shaded out background. All of a sudden I say, hey, this is Eric Charles. This is echarles@getcake.com. Fantastic. And all of a sudden, in our case, Cake System looks at it and says, finally we know who this guy is. And now that we know it's echarles@getcake, we can look at echarles@getcake and we start saying, oh, this guy actually follows us on Twitter, clicks on our ads on Facebook to see what's happening, and actually glanced at a couple of our banner ads on the local ESPN site when he was trying to figure out, what's going on in the World Cup. I'm a soccer fan. What can I say? So what you've got to do is start tracking that entire journey, from the first anonymous touch, okay, and then all the way into when I identify themselves, and then keep tracking once I'm identified for any of this prospect nurturing, as in these constant emails, happy birthday, Eric, you missed it, it was back in April, that's okay. And then with that's that entire journey. Then we start adding in customer lifetime value, how many purchases, not just the first purchase, every purchase I might have made in the store and online, and you start seeing what I'm worth. So all of this measurement will then allow you to optimize. You start realizing that, hey, the folks that we first touch, say, on ESPN, buy, but they only buy like quarterly. They seem to be a weird group of folks, maybe. I'm totally making this up. I'm just giving you an example. So you want to start tracking what's that first touch. How about the conversion touch? The folks that maybe started on this particular site tend to convert and give up their email address for this type of offer. And this is where you start spreading out your data streams. You both add them together and spread them out so you can get the optimization. The idea is that at any point in time, you can open up your computer, log into your dashboard, and what are you looking at? Hey, take a look. You know, here are where all of our data sources are coming into. Here's what our different paths look like. Here's what any campaign and what its conversion ratio is, down to any level of minutia. And I want to get into that minutia in a second, because the goal here is you need to be logging onto that dashboard. You come into the dashboard and you see, we're getting a spike in this channel, but a drop in that channel. What's going on? Okay, a lot of people are adding to the shopping cart. It looks like this particular product is hot. Let's change out some of our online advertising and get other people in this. We might be missing a trend out there that we just haven't caught. It might be a different Twitter feed, something going viral out there, a great video. For all we know, a similar looking product was in the #1 movie over the weekend. Sometimes we don't know what triggers a buying spree, what triggers an activity spree, but we have to know that it's happening. And it could be as simple as a sharing of our stuff or a lot of clicking. Once we get that real time, what should we do? Well, let's think about like the couponing, right? Once you've got all these shoppers identified and you start seeing these trends, you can start going with some real-time optimization. Hey, it looks like, we need to push a little bit more to mobile this week. Maybe it's standard spring break week. Okay, we're in March, April time. We're in that spring break time frame. We've got some spring break oriented content that we're going to be pushing out. Let's make sure we're pushing out on our mobile site and we're pushing more possible offers in that direction. And that really even means re-optimizing the types of offers we make. And what the idea there is, then we can start tracking it better. We start doing lots of different coupons. And we alter those coupons. We offer we change those offers based on what's going on in the marketplace. The neat thing about coupons, as Jordan was going into, is you can use those to manipulate the buying behavior. Some people respond differently to different offers. Sometimes your offers might do more than you expected. So let's talk about, remember when I was saying getting multiple data streams going? Think about, I'm selling out sunglasses, and for some reason my shades have become the most popular online right now. That's great, and we've had a nice coupon driving that to it, 20% off, or maybe a free case, or maybe a screen cleaner of some sort that goes with it, whatever it is. Oops, we're running out of inventory. Matter of fact, there's such high demand, we need to back off a little bit. What can we do? If we've got some real-time updates and optimization, back off our coupon. Do a redirect as they come into the page. Can we get them? Let's look at those, every customer that's bought those sunglasses in the past. What else have they eventually purchased? Let's rebuild a quick landing page that brings in those other products and brings them in there. Let's see where the coupon, let's see where the sunglass traffic is coming from so we can capture that. So the second we get our inventory resupplied, we reamp up those particular channels. If our best source of the sunglass movement was, say, Facebook ads, then we need to set aside budget for Facebook once our inventory is recovered. So think about the different systems you want to have in sync here. We need to see the purchasing behavior. We need to see the advertising behavior. We need to see the coupon behavior. And of course, we need to be in touch with our warehouse to know what's actually in inventory. So you can adjust your pricing, adjust some inventory purchases, and also adjust the couponing. Then you start tracking the success of your offers. So you start going in there and seeing which one is really getting people to do something. At which point in the system can I go into any given coupon, any given offer, any given hot deal of the day and see what it works. Now, here's a fun one on when I say see what works. There's a lot of different pieces that come into play. Remember I was talking about those creatives and the quants? It's really what creative is actually working in which channel, in this case, since I've been talking about coupons this whole time, with which coupon. So what you want to do is you want to have your system designed so that you capture all three of those. This is we're using, the red background with the 15% off on Facebook is working really well, but it doesn't seem to be triggered on Twitter. On Twitter, we need a different offer. We need a different image, and so let's think about it in terms of a nice quick grid. Creative A, coupon 1, creative B, coupon 2, creative C, coupon 3. Because I'm doing a quick slide, this is really a three-dimensional cube of intersections. Each one of those is going to perform differently. We might have great performance with Creative C and Coupon 3 on display, and it's good enough for A and B. On mobile, however, A is performing really well. On social, though, our first line is doing horrible. For some reason, the Twitter feed is not working for us. Don't know why. Why is another level of analysis we want to do. But what we're really saying is, look at all this stuff that's going on. We need to get on top of this and see what's happening. This is a dashboard you should be building out for yourself at any point in time to see what's triggering. Okay, so hopefully that gives you a feel for how to track the 3 C's. Look at your intersection of creative, coupon, and channel. See where it works. Don't assume the same ad, the same image works the same in every format. Then once you've got all that, we can start playing around with the marketing spending of TCA and CLV. Because I spent a very brief period of my time in the military, I love acronyms. They're so wonderful. Got an entire book of them. TCA, true cost of customer acquisition. CLV, customer lifetime value. Those are the 2 sides of the scale, the 2 things we need to balance out on each other. When I'm talking TCA, what I'm talking about is what is the cost of every touch. Remember earlier when I talked about how lead source can be so annoying and can be such a problem? When I'm jumping into lead source and then I do a cost analysis, I only do the cost of that particular marketing campaign. But like I said, which one of us only sees one commercial, one advertisement, one banner ad, one sponsored post on LinkedIn or Twitter? We see dozens, plus we get the emails. I mean, Google, my Gmail account has an entire channel for sponsored posts. And I actually look at it to see what people are trying to pitch to me. All of that's going on, but if you sit there and do all of your return on investment analysis just based on the last touch, and then you only look at the one product bought, your entire ROI analysis is thrown. To give you an idea, this is a customer slide out of the Cake system, and what you can see here on the bottom left is everything that's going on at a particular with one single person. In this case, I was using Marketo. I just pulled this out from earlier in this year, where they looked at ad roll, which in this case, I actually happen to know that's an ad roll bit that I re-put on Facebook. I can see if they clicked on one of my own links. I can see when they converted, and I can see which emails they went out. Look at all the different touches. This is just to get one person to identify themselves and finally give me their email address. That's what you need to be able to track. That's what you need to be able to do that total cost of acquisition. Now let's go to the other side of the scale. Remember, it's 2 sides. There's the total cost of the acquisition, and there's customer lifetime value. That's our ultimate, right? Once you get a customer, keep a customer. It's a lot cheaper to keep a customer than to buy a new one. Now, I just made a statement. That's what we have to prove. The only way to prove that is to have that total cost number and then the CLV. So we know the right ways, customer satisfaction, reaching out to them, having the right customers, tailoring the offerings like Jordan was talking about, the user experience, get them to have habits, and then making the metric-driven decisions. It'll be interesting to see, for example, the impact of Prime Day from Amazon. How many new people sign up for Prime just so they can participate in Prime Day and continue to be signed up for Prime. I'm hoping Amazon releases some data 3 to 6 months from now on the success of that campaign. I'll be watching for it. So let's talk about calculating customer lifetime value. I apologize, it's time for math. So if 81% of retail execs want to improve it, do they know how to calculate it? CLV, this looks scary. It's pretty easy. It's just all the profit you made. So we like to look at profit, not just revenue, especially in the retail industry. Let's face it, it's a tight industry. Times the retention rate. What's your average customer retention rate? Can you keep them? Now that's divided by the discount minus retention. By discount rate, that's a time value of money over the lifetime of the customer. So pulling that is like, what does it cost your company? That can even get into the CAPM model. Sorry, that some of you might be doing. Go ask your finance folks. Why do we need to do that? Well, we need to do that because if it's customer lifetime value, we want to put the value of any given customer, bring it back to their day, balance that against the total cost of acquisition, and now we know what our true profit margin is out of marketing activities. Really important number. It's a little bit of high-level math. I mean, by high level, it's algebra. Apologies. I spent the weekend playing golf with an algebra instructor, so I was kind of thinking about that a lot. But once you build this up into an Excel, it's very easy to run. So let's get into summary so we can have time for a couple questions here. You need all of your data sources brought in to analyze. So that means the cost of running your Google AdWords, your Bing AdWords, your Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Vimeo things, different sorts of shopping applications, bring in the data from Fluent. You know, all of these need to be brought in. You can't look at them solo because your customers don't just come in from one place. They come in from all over the place. All right. In addition, you need all the data at your fingertips. You can't afford to be caught out if you're a marketer. Cake runs on the iPhone with a nice quick dashboard. I look at this every morning when I wake up. I flip through it and I see where all of my traffic is coming from, just at the quick high level, and I take it from there. So we're at that little over past 10:40. I usually find that people are very happy to go home early. So let's get into our key takeaways here. So I don't know, Jordan, you want to go through the first three?
Sure. Really awesome presentation, Eric. Yeah, so the first three, in terms of, before we get into all the attribution, great analytics that Eric was talking about, very top of the funnel, consumers are, based on our research, more likely to opt in when the focus is on price and value and savings, and when the content is very personalized and targeted to them. Second is that it's critical to make a great first impression and also make signing up a primary call to action, whether it's on your own website, whether it's in a store, whether it's in an ad itself. If you want to get people into the funnel, just go ahead and ask for that permission. And then lastly, it's include the fields that you need, but don't include too many. As we showed, you could really, by cutting the number of questions that you're asking or types of data fields that you're looking for in half, you could double or triple your acquisition volumes. But at the same time, do make sure that you're asking for the right pieces of information to communicate as relevantly as possible from the get-go.
I'll keep mine pretty simple. Again, it's the 3 C's. How's your marketing performing? By channel, by coupon, by creative. Stay on top of that. If not, you're going to turn around, blink, and you'll have spent a third of your budget in the wrong direction. Make sure that when you're figuring out if you're doing your job, when you're justifying your existence, as I like to say, when you're showing, how much money you're bringing in, that you've got a look of true cost of acquisition, total cost of acquisition to bring in a customer, balanced with customer lifetime value. Go in with the numbers in advance so that somebody can't call you out on it. Obviously, both of us were happy to have you all here today. Jordan showed off how the Fluent system is a fantastic way of managing a lot of this. I gave you a brief taste of how Cake can help you manage and evaluate and track all the performance of all of these channels. Both of us would be more than happy, I'm sure, to arrange a demo for you of our products. But for now, I know some questions have been coming in. You can submit them through the GoToWebinar control panel. Both of our contact information is up there, our Twitter handles, our email addresses. Please feel free to reach out to us. Again, as Britt mentioned, you will get a copy of the deck coming to you, plus a little bit of a short write-up and a link to the recording. But Britt, what questions do we have?
Awesome. Well, thank you both for sharing all of your insight. We have a ton of questions that came in throughout the presentation. We might not get to all of them, but we will make sure to follow up with you all individually. And the first question, I believe it's probably directed more towards Jordan. And the question is, what aspects of the ad should be tested to cater to the price-conscious consumer?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, so we do a ton of testing, and it's not just about price conscious. It's about really for any type of consumer. We're testing everything from sequence of words, length of words, different colors. Saying the same thing but against a different backdrop can make all the difference. So our motto in our own advertising is test, test, test. I'm sure Eric would agree, and other marketers in the line. But yeah, we test constantly and optimize constantly.
Great. Okay. Eric, this one I believe is directed more towards you. How do you know which campaign should get credit for the deal?
That's a fun one. That's back in I earlier mentioned that lead source is a live bit. There's a ton of companies out there that are promising the ultimate attribution model, single source attribution technology players, where they will have some sort of a fancy algorithm that does all of the, giving of credit mathematically. Now, you're going to laugh at this coming from a guy who just talked about a couple different bits of math to do, but it really is dependent upon your business and how your money comes in and how long you talk to people. Personally, the attribution model I use is I give a fair amount of credit to the first anonymous touch. I really like to know what first got your attention. Then I give the second highest amount of credit to the marketing touch that happened that convinced you to give me your name. What got you to say, like I said, echarles@getcake.com. Every touch in between there, I give a smaller amount of credit. Now, on top of that, I'll even drop a little bit of a time decay. So if my first touch was 5 years ago, I really would hate to continue to give credit to that one. So you kind of go to there. And then once I got you to give up the name, the next one will be the touch that happened that got you to actually purchase something. So that's the third triggering point that I think about, because now you're an identified customer. We're going to continue marketing to you. What got you to actually buy? Same idea, all the intervening touches having a little bit of credit because obviously we're staying on top of the customer. Now, by the way, at the same point, you should also look at which touch got someone to unsubscribe. I didn't bring that up before, but companies neglect the offer that made someone finally say, you know what, please take me off your list. That would be a good one to look for patterns, see what's driving that one. So there's a series of attribution models where you start on the first touch and then give a little bit after that, or the last touch and give a little bit of credit for all the prior touches. A U-shaped one, which I was describing that first and last with some credit in between. And then you can even get into a series of different stacks and even go custom. Each one of these, we have these models actually built into Cake for people to be able to use. You'll want to take a look at a few different ones because you do need to test them against your own knowledge. If we just said generic touch and it turns out, yeah, but we dropped a few $1 million on a Super Bowl ad, it seems to us that that's giving us more credit, do it. But be careful. I'm going to play scientist here for a second. Set your hypothesis before you put in your attribution model. A lot of people will try to build an attribution model to justify preconceived notions. Always put in a guess before you put in the model and see what's actually working.
Great. Okay. Now this is a really interesting question, I believe directed towards Jordan. Based on your experience, how many data points should you collect without hindering the user experience?
Yeah, I mean, it really is for each marketer. Again, I want to emphasize that I think it's critical to capture what you need and not you don't capture enough to communicate relevantly. For many marketers, it really, we have a lot of customers who it's just as simple as let's just capture email and take it from there on programs. For others, again, I think that you depending on what your business needs are, just having something like an additional field other than email, first name, last name, like date of birth could be really critical, especially in like the food and beverage segment. Different types of travel or purchasing preferences in different types in the travel or retail vertical. But once you get past more than 4 or 5 forms, typically you're gonna start seeing drop off. I wanted to also add to what Eric said because I love this stuff about attribution, and it's totally mind-boggling when you see that so many marketers are just looking at the last click. Love all the stuff that Cake does and the different modeling that Eric was talking about. But just another kind of pointer that I want to give for those who don't have as many resources is really just understanding, of course, kind of what was the first touch, when did I first get somebody into my CRM system and credit that channel, whether it's a Fluent ad, a Google ad, a Facebook ad, somebody coming into the register, and that's critical. But then understanding the influence of different touch points along the way to the path of purchase, and just one simple way to do it is really to, if you're looking at something like the email channel, just looking at, was that customer signed up for my email list or not, and what's the split of people who are making purchases who are on my CRM file versus who aren't. That's just a very easy way to go and walk into the CEO's office and say, look, sure, the most of our purchases might be coming in through somebody coming to Google and conducting a search and then clicking through, but if somebody, the folks who are on our email list are 50% more likely to have taken that same action. That's an easy way to show that your CRM efforts are playing a big role in driving success.
Great. And then let's open it up for one more question. Eric, this one's for you. What time frame should we look at when doing our analysis?
That one's dangerous because we all want that lifetime customer. I have an uncle who's never driven anything but a Chevy. He had a really nice local dealer sell him a Chevy when he first got back from the Korean War, and up until the day of his death, he got a new car every 3 years, and he never drove anything but a Chevy, and it was always from that dealership. We all hope we can build that kind of a relationship. At the same time, if somebody was constantly attributing my uncle's revenue stream to that first dealer that gave a returning veteran a nice deal, it should be remembered, but it's going to mess up the marketing math because we can't go back, oh, so we should offer more deals to returning Korean veterans. Well, no, we should think about that type of an offer, though. So with that, I would actually start building. I would actually build myself a bell curve at a couple standard deviations. I would see when is the standard time frame of when people come in until they perform, until they become, and we hit that customer lifetime value, really start paying out. And if that says that the standard dev for us is like, say, 1 year for two iterations, and that gets us 80% of the curve, great, run with 2 years. So you're going to have to, again, do a little bit of math and map it out. How long is the typical customer journey taking? Get rid of the outliers because you don't want to build a business on that type of outliers, especially in a business where we're trying to get into thousands to tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of buyers, and build it out that way. That's why I like the time decay model for attribution, making sure that we don't give too much credit to a touch that happened 5 years ago, especially if it took us another 4 years to turn them into a customer. I didn't really answer the question because this is an individual thing for any given company, but this is why, again, I say, bring in your data and run that curve.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Jordan and Eric, for sharing your insights and knowledge with all of us. That concludes the webinar, and we would like to thank you all once again for listening in, and we hope to see you on the next one.